In the world of coin collecting, there are few things more exciting than the discovery of a coin that looks completely ordinary to most people, but holds an extraordinary story hidden within it. The 1998 Washington quarter is one of those coins, a piece of change that millions of people handled every day without giving it a second thought. It was used at gas stations, laundromats, payphones, vending machines, and arcades across the country, just another quarter in an endless stream of coins. But among the countless quarters minted in 1998, a few error coins slipped through the presses. And those are the ones that have since stunned collectors with their rarity and jaw-dropping value. Believe it or not, some examples of the 1998 Washington quarter error have sold for staggering amounts, ranging anywhere from $16,500 all the way up to $133,000. That's right. What once was worth 25 cents could now be worth more than a brand new luxury car or even a small house. To appreciate just why this coin has become so important in numismatic circles, we need to step back and look at the context of the Washington Quarter series. By 1998, the Washington Quarter had already been in circulation for more than 6 decades, originally introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. For most of its history, it kept the same design on the obverse with Washington's profile, while the reverse featured the bold eagle design that many Americans grew up with. But 1998 was a pivotal year. It was the very last year that the eagle reverse would appear on a regular issue Washington quarter, because in 1999 the famous state quarters program was launched, completely transforming U.S. coin collecting and making quarters more popular than they had ever been before. That alone makes 1998 a historically important date in the series. It marked the end of an era. Now, when we combine this significant transition with the fact that certain error coins slipped through the presses in 1998, the result is a perfect storm of rarity, intrigue, and collector obsession. Error coins come in many forms: double strikes, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, and transitional errors where a coin was accidentally minted on the wrong metal blank. Some 1998 Washington quarters have been documented with dramatic mistakes, including off-center strikes that leave part of the design cut off, double dies that cause the lettering or details to appear doubled, and even wrong planchet strikes, where a quarter design was struck on a planchet mint for another denomination. One of the most famous types of valuable 1998 quarter errors is when the coin was struck on the wrong planchet. For example, a Washington quarter might have been accidentally struck on a clad dime planchet, resulting in a coin that is slightly smaller and lighter than normal, with parts of the design missing because the smaller planchet could not contain the entire image. These are rare and highly prized, with collectors paying tens of thousands of dollars for high-grade examples. When such a coin comes up for auction, it doesn't just sell quietly. It creates a buzz in the coin world, and bidding wars break out as collectors fight for the chance to own a piece of numismatic history. And this is where the value becomes truly astonishing. While most 1998 quarters are only worth face value, those rare error examples can skyrocket in price. At major auctions, some have sold for amounts starting around $16,500, and in the most extreme cases, rare and pristine examples of 1998 Washington quarter errors have fetched as much as $133,000. That's the kind of number that makes even seasoned collectors shake their heads in amazement. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that looks so familiar and ordinary, yet its hidden story makes it more valuable than many people's annual salary. That contrast between ordinary appearance and extraordinary worth is part of what makes the 1998 quarter error so compelling. Collectors are drawn to these coins not only for their rarity and value, but also because of the thrill of the hunt. There's something deeply exciting about the idea that such coins could still be hiding in circulation, sitting in old jars of change, tucked into desk drawers, or passed down in family collections without anyone realizing their true worth. For many collectors, the hunt for a 1998 quarter error is about more than just money. It's about the adventure, the chase, and the possibility of discovering treasure in the most unexpected of places. The 1998 quarter also occupies a unique place in the broader history of U.S. coinage because of its timing. With the transition to the state quarters program beginning in 1999, collectors know that 1998 marks the last year of the traditional eagle reverse. That alone makes the date historically significant. Combine that with the presence of dramatic mint errors, and you have a coin that represents both the end of one era and the beginning of another. For collectors, it's like owning a bridge between two important chapters of American coin history, And when error coins carry that symbolism, their allure becomes even stronger. Another fascinating aspect of these coins is the role grading plays in determining their value. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have authenticated and graded some of the most valuable 1998 quarter errors, with higher grades commanding dramatically higher prices. A coin that shows minimal wear, strong details, and brilliant luster can fetch prices at the very top of that $133,000 range, while those with more wear may fall toward the lower end, around $16,500. The condition of the coin is crucial, and it adds another layer of excitement, since the chances of finding one in pristine condition are even smaller than finding one at all. Auction houses love these coins because they generate excitement and attention. Stories of ordinary-looking quarters selling for tens of thousands of dollars make headlines, and they spark curiosity among the general public. Suddenly, everyone starts looking more closely at their change, wondering if they might be holding on to a fortune without even realizing it. That's the magic of coins like the 1998 Washington quarter error. They remind us that hidden treasures can still be found in everyday life, and that history often hides in plain sight. It's worth noting that the 1998 quarter isn't just valuable for its monetary worth. It's also a symbol of change in America's coinage. It marked the last breath of the traditional Washington quarter design before the state quarters program redefined the way Americans looked at their coins. That context adds emotional value for collectors who see the 1998 errors as not just mistakes, but as symbols of a turning point in coinage history. Owning one feels like owning a tangible piece of that story. The sheer range of errors found in 1998 quarters adds to the mystique. Off-center strikes can leave Washington's profile shifted awkwardly to one side, with blank space where the design should be. Double-die errors can make the letters of "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appear doubled, giving the coin an almost ghostly look. Wrong planchet errors can make the coin look slightly undersized, incomplete, or oddly weighted. Each type of error has its own following among collectors, and each can bring astonishing prices depending on rarity and condition. Imagine for a moment the surprise of someone who discovers one of these coins by chance. Perhaps it's in a coin jar that has been sitting untouched for years, or in a drawer where old coins were stashed away. They notice something unusual. The weight feels a little off, or the design looks a little strange. After some research or a visit to a coin dealer, they realize they are holding a 1998 Washington quarter error worth tens of thousands of dollars. That moment of realization is pure magic, and it's part of what makes coin collecting so thrilling to us. Oh, why are collectors willing to pay so much for these coins? It comes down to a combination of rarity, history, condition, and the thrill of owning something unique. Error coins are by definition accidents. They weren't meant to exist, and only a small number slip through the cracks. That makes them rare. Add in the historical importance of 1998 as the last year before the state quarters program, and you get coins that are historically meaningful. Factor in the appeal of coins that are still occasionally discovered in circulation, and you have the recipe for intense collector demand. The story of the 1998 Washington quarter error is a reminder that value is often hidden in the most ordinary of places. What looks like just another piece of change can actually be a small fortune waiting to be discovered. For collectors, the dream of finding one is enough to keep the search alive, and for those lucky enough to own one, the coin becomes a prized possession, a conversation starter, and a piece of history all rolled into one. When you hear that a coin as common as a 1998 quarter can be worth anywhere from $16,500 to $133,000, it changes the way you look at your own change. Suddenly, every quarter becomes a little more interesting, every coin jar a little more mysterious, and every old collection a little more exciting. And that's the real beauty of coins like these. They make us pay attention, they make us curious, and they remind us that history is always closer than we think. In the fascinating world of coin collecting, there are certain years and minting events that completely change the way collectors look at pocket change. And one of the most legendary among them is the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. On the surface, it seems like just another quarter, the kind you might have used in a laundromat, at a payphone, or tucked into a vending machine decades ago. But within the history of this coin lies a perfect storm of rarity, transition, and error that has made it one of the most desirable quarters ever struck. The value of some rare 1965 Washington quarter error coins has stunned even veteran collectors, with examples selling for astonishing amounts ranging from $40,000 to as high as $302,000 at auctions. That kind of value for a coin most people once considered ordinary is enough to stop anyone in their tracks and make them look twice at their pocket change to understand why the 1965 Washington quarter became so legendary. We have to step back into the turbulent history of U.S. coinage in the mid-1960s. Up until 1964, quarters were made primarily of silver, 90% silver and 10% copper to be exact. But as silver prices rose sharply in the early 1960s, people began hoarding coins, especially quarters and dimes, stripping them from circulation to melt them down or simply save them as a hedge against the increasing value of silver. The U.S. Mint faced a massive coin shortage, and Congress had to act quickly. In 1965, the government decided to change the composition of the quarter, moving from silver to a clad copper-nickel blend. This was a monumental shift, marking the end of an era of silver coinage and the beginning of modern clad coins. However, this transition wasn't smooth, and it's here that the story of the valuable 1965-era quarters begins. In the midst of switching over to clad planchets, some silver planchets from 1964 were accidentally left in the presses and struck with 1965 quarter dies. These transitional errors are among the most coveted mistakes in numismatics because they are the perfect blend of rarity, historical significance, and collector intrigue. A 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet looks similar to a regular one at first glance, but its weight, metallic content, and sheen make it completely different. And because so few of these slipped through quality control, they're extremely rare. Collectors will pay astronomical sums for them. And that is where those jaw-dropping values of $40,000 to $302,000 come into play. The excitement over the 1965 quarter doesn't stop there. Other error types have also been documented, including double strikes, off-center strikes, and wrong planchet errors where the quarter was struck on a dime or foreign coin blank. Each of these errors makes the coin unique, and uniqueness is the lifeblood of coin collecting. To find a 1965 quarter with such errors in uncirculated condition is like discovering buried treasure, and collectors know just how slim the chances are of one surviving the decades without being damaged or spent into oblivion. One of the most thrilling aspects of the 1965 Washington quarter error story is the fact that ordinary people have discovered them. These aren't coins you need to be a professional collector to stumble upon. They've been found in change jars, passed down in family collections, and even pulled from circulation years later by sharp-eyed individuals who noticed something unusual. Imagine the shock of realizing that the coin you thought was worth 25 cents is actually valued at $40,000, $150,000, or even as much as $302,000. That kind of discovery is life-changing, and it's why stories about the 1965 quarter continue to spark excitement in the coin collecting world. Collectors often advise people to test their 1965 quarters by weighing them. Regular clad quarters weigh about 5.67 grams, while the silver transitional errors weigh closer to 6.25 grams, just like the 1964 silver quarters. That slight difference in weight can be the clue that reveals a small fortune hiding in plain sight. The edges of the coin can also give it away. Silver quarters have a solid silver-colored edge, while clad quarters show a distinct copper-colored core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. These small details make all the difference, and they're what separate an ordinary coin from one that could be worth up to $302,000. The 1965 Washington quarter is also a perfect example of how historical context can elevate the value of a coin. The mid-1960s were a time of change in America, both socially and economically, and the coinage reflected that. Moving away from silver wasn't just a technical adjustment. It was a reflection of a nation's economic realities. To own a transitional error for 1965 is to own a physical piece of that history, a reminder of a turning point in U.S. coinage. That connection to history adds to the emotional and monetary value for collectors, and it helps explain why the coin's worth has soared over the years. At auctions, when 1965 silver transitional error quarter appears, the room electrifies. Collectors know how rare they are, and competition is fierce. Every bidder wants the chance to own one, and with so few in existence, the price inevitably climbs. Stories of collectors bidding past $100,000 for a single coin demonstrate just how high the demand is. The top examples, especially those graded in mint state condition by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, can push prices well into the $302,000 range. That's the kind of figure that makes headlines, and it's why the 1965 quarter is more than just a collectible. It's a legend. But here's the truly fascinating part. These coins are still out there. Unlike rarities that were locked away in museums or collections decades ago, transitional errors and mint mistakes from 1965 can still surface in surprising places. Every year, new discoveries are reported, fueling the imagination of everyday people who dream of finding their own hidden treasure. This possibility keeps the hunt alive and makes even the act of sifting through old coins exciting. The beauty of this story is that it reminds us not to overlook the ordinary. A 1965 quarter may look like just another coin, but in reality, it could be a ticket to an extraordinary payday. The thought that a small piece of change could hold the power to transform someone's financial situation is thrilling, and it's exactly why stories about the 1965 Washington quarter error continue to captivate audiences. When you hear that a 1965 quarter error coin can be worth between $40,000 and $302,000, it changes the way you look at your own coins. Suddenly, the jar of quarters in your kitchen or the collection passed down from a grandparent becomes a potential treasure chest. The possibility of discovering such a coin isn't just fantasy. It's happened to real people, and it could happen again. In the end, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar era represents the magic of coin collecting. It shows us how mistakes can become treasures, how history can be preserved in metal, and how something as simple as a quarter can hold extraordinary value. For collectors, it's a reminder that rarity, condition, and story combine to create legends. For everyone else, it's an invitation to look a little closer at the coins we take for granted. The next time you come across a 1965 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Examine it carefully, weigh it if you can, and check its details. Because hidden in its surface might be one of the most valuable quarters ever struck, a coin capable of fetching as much as $302,000 at auction. That's the kind of discovery that turns an ordinary moment into an unforgettable one, proving once again that history and fortune can hide in the smallest and most unexpected places. In the world of U.S. coin collecting, there are certain years and denominations that have become legends among collectors. Not because they were minted in huge numbers, but because among the millions that were struck, a few carry unique errors that elevate their value from pocket change to staggering sums. One such coin is the 1994 Washington quarter dollar error coin. At first glance, it looks just like the quarter you may have spent on a parking meter or used at a vending machine years ago, but beneath its everyday appearance lies the potential for shocking value. Some rare examples of this coin have commanded incredible amounts at auctions, with prices ranging from $22,000 to as high as $110,000, depending on the type and severity of the error, as well as the condition of the coin itself. To truly appreciate why a 1994 Washington quarter error can reach such heights, we need to step back and understand its origins. The Washington quarter had been in circulation since 1932, introduced to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1994, the design was familiar to every American, with Washington's bust on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. But what makes some of the 1994 quarters so valuable is not the design itself. It's the mistakes that slipped through during the minting process. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year, and even with modern machinery and strict quality control, errors are inevitable. These errors can range from off-center strikes, double strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, and even dramatic die cracks. In 1994, several of these mistakes found their way into circulation, making certain quarters instantly collectible. A normal 1994 quarter might only be worth 25 cents in your pocket, but one with a significant mint error transforms into a highly sought-after treasure in the numismatic world. Collectors are fascinated by these error coins because they are, in essence, rare accidents. They're like pieces of history that weren't supposed to exist, and that rarity drives up the value dramatically. A 1994 quarter with a strong, visible minting error in uncirculated condition is considered a prize find. The higher the grade from coin grading services like PCGS or NGC, the higher the coin's value climbs. Some quarters in pristine condition with dramatic errors have reached auction prices of $22,000 to $110,000, stunning casual coin owners and even seasoned collectors. Think about how many times you may have handled a quarter without a second glance. Perhaps you use one for a gumball machine or save them in a jar. The possibility that one of those coins could be a hidden gem worth tens of thousands is what excites both collectors and ordinary people who stumble upon them. The 1994 Washington Quarter Error coin teaches us that attention to detail matters. To the untrained eye, it might look ordinary, but to a coin collector who knows what to look for, it could be life-changing. The errors on the 1994 quarter vary, and that variation directly impacts value. For example, an off-center strike where part of the design is missing but the date remains visible is especially desirable. Double strikes, where the coin design is imprinted twice, create a fascinating overlapping appearance that collectors pay huge premiums for. Wrong planchet errors, where the quarter is mistakenly struck on the blank intended for another denomination like a nickel or dime, are among the most valuable. These coins are not just monetary instruments. They're anomalies that tell the story of the minting process itself. When a collector sees one of these coins at auction, the competition can get fierce. Each bidder knows just how rare it is to find a 1994 quarter error in excellent condition. They know that the odds of one surviving circulation without damage are slim. They know that owning such a coin is like holding a piece of minting history that only a handful of people will ever possess. That exclusivity drives up the price, with results that still surprise even veteran numismatists. Another factor that contributes to the coin's high value is its story. Every coin has a narrative, and error coins have some of the most compelling stories of all. The 1994 Washington Quarter Error tells the story of human error and mechanical imperfection, of how even the most advanced systems can produce something unique and unrepeatable. That story adds character to the coin and increases its desirability. Now, why are we talking about values as high as $22,000 to $110,000? The answer lies in a mix of rarity, demand, and condition. Not every 1994 quarter is worth that amount. In fact, the vast majority are only worth their face value. But the tiny fraction that left the mint with noticeable errors and survived without being heavily circulated are the ones that command such eye-popping figures. It's not an exaggeration to say that finding one of these coins in a collection or in loose change is like striking gold. Many collectors actively hunt for these coins at estate sales, flea markets, and even bankrolls. There are stories of people finding error coins tucked away in old jars or inherited collections, coins that look like any other but turn out to be worth tens of thousands. This is why coin collecting continues to captivate new generations. It combines the thrill of treasure hunting with the satisfaction of preserving history. The 1994 Washington Quarter Error stands as a perfect example of how modern coins can achieve legendary status. For years, people thought only older coins like early 20th century or 19th century rarities could bring big money. But coins like this prove otherwise. Even a quarter minted just a few decades ago has the potential to deliver astonishing returns if it carries the right error. If you're curious about whether you might have one of these valuable coins, there are a few things to check. Look closely at the coin strike. Does the image look shifted or doubled? Check the edges. Are they clipped or oddly shaped? Weigh the coin. If it doesn't match the standard quarter weight, it could have been struck on the wrong planchet. Even subtle irregularities could mean the difference between 25 cents and a fortune. Collectors who specialize in error coins often say that once you find your first valuable piece, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. The thrill of discovery is addictive, and the possibility of turning up something worth $22,000 to $110,000 makes every coin hunt exciting. It's a reminder that history and value can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with a keen eye to uncover it. The market for these coins remains strong, and with each auction result, their legend grows. People are fascinated by the idea that something so common could be so rare. It captures the imagination and fuels the desire to search. The 1994 Washington Quarter Error is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of chance, rarity, and reward at SO. The next time you find yourself with spare change in hand, don't be too quick to spend it. Take a closer look, because tucked among the ordinary coins could be a 1994 Washington Quarter Error that changes your life forever. With values ranging from $22,000 to $110,000. It's proof that treasure still exists in the most unexpected places.